A deadly crash midair over Washington as a passenger plane collided with a military helicopter last night, both falling into the river. Good afternoon. It's a somber day in the U.S. Capitol. A recovery operation is currently underway in the Potomac River.
Last night, an American Airlines jet carrying 60 passengers and 4 crew members collided with a Black Hawk chopper while landing at Ronald Reagan National Airport. This video shows the horrific crash between an American Airlines jet with 64 people on board and an Army helicopter. The passenger jet was on approach to land at Ronald Reagan International Airport when it collided with the helicopter. A massive search and rescue operation began immediately, involving first responders from a number of local fire, police, and EMS services.
At this point, we don't believe there are any survivors from this accident. And we have recovered 27 people from the plane and 1 from the helicopter. The district office of the medical examiner has lead on reuniting these bodies and these people with their loved ones, and we will continue to work to find all the bodies and collect them and reunite them with their loved ones.
The cause of the collision remains unclear. CTV's Kamal Karmali is standing by live with the latest. What can you tell us about the latest details that we're hearing about the crash and who was on board?
We are hearing that all people on board that aircraft, including those in the helicopter, have now been confirmed dead. President Donald Trump holding a press conference in the past hour confirming that there are no survivors from this devastating crash that took place just outside of the area of the Washington airport last night. So that includes 60 passengers and 4 crew members aboard the aircraft and 3 soldiers aboard the helicopter that have been confirmed dead. The body of the plane was found upside down in 3 sections, according to the initial response. The wreckage of the helicopter also found. Here's what we know so far. The crash occurred around 9 p.m. Eastern time last night when a regional jet that left Wichita, Kansas collided with a military helicopter on a training flight. The plane was on approach to the airport runway, coming in for a landing. In terms of what caused the collision, it's still unclear at this point. We know government officials have said it was a clear night and a standard flight pattern. Trump, who, as I mentioned, spoke just about an hour ago and said that the National Transportation Safety Board is investigating, and they'll try to piece together the final moments of both the aircraft and the helicopter. Once again, President Donald Trump speaking, in the past hour, and he also passed along his condolences on behalf of himself and members of the White House. Have a listen.
On behalf of the First Lady, myself, and 340 million Americans, our hearts are shattered alongside yours, and our prayers are with you now and in the days to come. We'll be working very, very diligently in the days to come. We're here for you to wipe away the tears and to offer you our devotion, our love, and our support.
And Trump also spoke and used this platform to speak on how diversity and DEI practices might have played a part in this crash. Pauline.
And Kamal, what do we know about those on board? I understand they have recovered quite a few bodies.
Yeah, 28 bodies that had plummeted into the icy river below. Just a devastating scene, but 28 bodies have been recovered. Once again, Trump confirming in that press conference that there are no survivors from this devastating crash between an aircraft and a helicopter, a military helicopter. It's the deadliest U.S. air crash in nearly 24 years. Once again, though, we're learning about some of the identities of the victims. It's a significant loss for the U.S. figure skating community. We know that there were a group of 14 skaters, their coaches, family members on board. Have a listen to what one figure skating coach who knew the victims had to say earlier. All right, so we apparently don't have that clip, but the Kremlin also identifying 2 coaches on board. The individuals won pairs titles of the 1994 championships and are 2-time Olympians as well. You're seeing Evgenia Shishkova and Nadim Naumov. So 2 people, Russian figure skaters, lost in this tragedy as well. And Pauline and Michelle, I'm sure we'll learn more names of the victims as they come to light. Once again, a devastating crash that have now confirmed that there are 67 people dead as a result. Back over to you.
Thanks so much, Kamal.
Now we want to bring in Phil Dirty, CTV's aviation specialist. Phil, I know it's still early hours here and the recovery process is still underway, but given your expertise when it comes to air travel, first I want to know what you make of what happened.
Good afternoon, Michelle. It was a tragedy. The two aircraft shouldn't have been at the same airspace. It was just an unfortunate, we call it a Swiss cheese effect, where everything comes up and everybody's at the wrong place at the wrong time, and the accident happens. The aircraft, the CRJ, was cleared to land on runway 33. It was originally supposed to land on runway 1. Air traffic control asked them to change to runway 33. So they did set out for the approach. They were on final approach on what we refer to as a short final. The helicopter was flying on Route 4, which is a path right along the Potomac River. And from the last transcript that I saw, they were at 300 feet, and the crash happened when the CRJ was about 350 feet. So their paths intersected. The Black Hawk helicopter had confirmed visual sight of the CRJ, and air traffic control them said just pass behind them, and they confirmed, but they impacted the aircraft.
Yeah, you're referencing air traffic controller audio, which is available to listen to already. When you hear that the pilot of the chopper was aware of this plane, what could have possibly happened between then and this crash?
Well, I don't know if their vision was distorted because of the city lights, because they were both at the same altitude. The CRJ had just turned in front of the Black Hawk helicopter and was lined up on the runway. So I'm not exactly sure. They confirmed that it had the visual sight of the aircraft and they were going for visual separation. So it means they were looking at the airplane and they were trying to miss it. So I don't know exactly what happened.
DC, well, that's going to be part of what I imagine will be a big investigation. Fair to say this is DC is busy when it comes to air travel, and interesting to hear you say that they shouldn't have been in the same airspace. Why do you think they were?
Well, the helicopter was on the specified route, and the CRJ was on the specified glide path. So it's up to the responsibility of the air traffic controllers to keep the aircraft separated, which they did. They called out the Black Hawk, saying that there was a CRJ on final. They said they had it and confirmed it visually, but I don't know how they climbed up to that altitude.
No doubt when people hear about tragic air crashes of this magnitude, they worry if it's safe to fly. What's your message there?
Oh, it's never been safer to fly than it is right now. There's a lot of systems in place. This was a very unfortunate accident. It's out of the norm. Aviation is inherently safe. So, like right now, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem getting on an airplane this afternoon.
CTV's aviation specialist, Phil Dirty. Appreciate you coming in and helping us make sense of it. Thanks so much.
Great. Thanks for having me.
And still ahead, a botched snatch and grab attempt at a jewelry store last night in Scarborough. A truck drove into a store inside a plaza at Eglinton and Brimley. The details a little later in the newscast. Well, it's the second day of the provincial election campaign, and the leaders of Ontario's main political parties are making their pitch to voters.
Starting today, you can actually vote in person at your local election office. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris joins us live with more. Siobhan.
Well, it's been a busy morning for the party leaders making those pitch to people who are already able to vote. We saw PC leader Doug Ford in London, Marit Stiles launching her bus tour here at Queen's Park. Bonnie Crombie, the Liberal leader, was in Mississauga opening her campaign office, and Mike Schreiner, the leader of the Greens, was touring a youth wellness hub in Fergus, Ontario. The auto sector really seems to be a feature of the early hours of this second day of the campaign. We saw Doug Ford make a recommitment to the auto industry. Here's more of what we heard from him.
No matter what decision the U.S. makes about the Inflation Reduction Act, we will maintain our financial contributions to the electric vehicle and battery auto pack.
I believe in the EV sector. I think this is important for the future of our own economy. But I do sense that Doug Ford put a lot of eggs in one basket, and I have some concerns about that. I mean, as we've seen, Doug Ford does not make good deals for Ontario generally, and I'm going to be looking very carefully at the details of the deals that he's struck with those folks.
I'm concerned about the future of the sector. Yes, I'm concerned about what those U.S. multinationals and foreign nationals will do, whether the investment will hold.
Now, Ford also made a recommitment, or a new commitment, rather, to add $1 billion to Ontario's Skills Development Fund. He's also challenging whoever is Prime Minister next to also keep their commitment to the new EV investments made in the province of Ontario. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Back to you.
Thanks, Siobhan. Mayor Olivia Chow this morning officially finalized her proposed 2025 city budget. For several weeks now, the mayor has been outlining her ideas for an $18.8 billion spending plan for 2025. It promises enhancements to a range of community services, from emergency response to transit to extended library hours. It also pledges increased support for tenants. If passed, the budget relies on a 6.9% combined increase to property taxes and the city building fund. But the mayor says more homeowners will now be eligible for some relief.
For seniors and people with disabilities, the city offers property tax deferral and cancellation. And today I am announcing that we are increasing the threshold by 5% for this relief to $60,000, which will benefit at least 13,000 Torontonians, seniors, and people with disabilities.
The mayor's office says she made the change after hearing feedback from the public. The budget proposal now heads to City Council on February 11th.
In the dead of winter, a couple of apartment buildings in Mississauga have been without water since Sunday.
Now there are signs that the water is starting to come back on, but not fast enough for frustrated residents. CTV's John Musselman is live with more on what those residents are saying. John?
Well, Pauline, it has been a pretty frustrating situation. These apartment buildings are on Mississauga Valley Boulevard. Now, we'll show you some video here. Tenants say that the water went off late Sunday night, right after around midnight on Monday morning. And here's one of the reasons why. There was a massive water main break in front of the building. We obtained some video from a tenant who showed us this geyser of water. Now, that was the lead problem. They started fixing that pipe, but then it only was fixed temporarily. It broke down again. So residents had no water for almost 3 days. People were showering at a community center down the street or going to family and friends. They're relying on bottled water to do their dishes. So it's been a very difficult situation here. We did get inside the building with a tenant today who did show us that the cold water is on. Here's what he had to tell us this morning.
I live alone, so it's fine, but I can understand people who have families.
Yeah.
Being unable to shower, having to refill your toilet tank to flush, and also just having a sink of dirty dishes for like 3-4 days is unsanitary altogether. I had to go to my brother's place to shower after like 2 days yesterday because I just couldn't handle it.
Now, we have reached out to the property management company, and we also spoke to tenants as well. There has been a lot of contractors on site here working to repair that water main break and get the water back on. And when we can update you now, the water appears to be back on in at least 2 of these buildings that we visited so far. And we're actually seeing some hot water back on as well. So it appears that this nightmare for these tenants appears to be over. Reporting live from the scene, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Well, that is some good news. Thank you, John. And we turn our attention to the weather. Not much in the way of sunshine, at least as we have a look at the downtown core. And you'll notice it's a cool one out there. Let's bring in Lindsay Morrison for a look at the current conditions. Are we getting this warm up?
It's coming, Michelle, slowly but surely. We started off the day at -9 degrees. It felt into the minus teens. Now we are at -3 in Toronto, still feeling like -7. Winds much lighter today, and they are coming out of the south, so that's encouraging our warm up. This afternoon, we're forecasting a high of around 0. Our temperature is expected to hold there through the overnight hours, too. We are forecasting a few flurries. You might be seeing them already, depending on where you're joining us from. Mainly the west end of the GTA right now. Light in nature, not expecting much in the way of accumulation. This system, stateside, could have an impact on your Friday forecast. It might be a miss, or we might get some mixed precipitation. We'll tell you everything you need to know for the weekend ahead coming up. For now, Pauline, I'm going to send it over to you.
Thanks very much, Lindsay. Turning now to the latest smash and grab investigation.
Police say a truck was driven into a store in Scarborough last night during a robbery. Our Beth McDonnell is live on the scene with the details. Beth, what can you tell us?
Michelle, the owner and his son were inside the store last night when a truck rammed the front 3 times. The owner and his son took cover in the basement and the back. Now, this family, they are very scared today. They don't want to show their faces, but they were open to sharing their story with us, and they did provide us with security footage of this attempted robbery. This is the first time the truck smashes into the jewelry store. A group from another vehicle in the lot approaches the front with bags and hammers trying to break through the front door. Unsuccessful, the truck rams the store a second time and a third time. Inside the store was this woman's brother and father.
They said they heard like a loud bang, and then they turn to the right and they see like a truck reverse into the store. So they were like freaked out, and then they just started looking at their safety. Like, they didn't want to get hit by the cars.
The attempted robbery happened just before 6:30 Wednesday night in a plaza near Eglinton and Brimley.
It was busy at the time. We are concerned, and again, we have all resources, again, investigating this to try to bring the suspects to justice.
There is extensive damage to the store. Police say they are looking for 5 masked suspects.
Dad has had the store for like over 30 years. I've been here ever since I was a baby. So it's so heartbreaking to see something like this happen. Like, I went inside yesterday and so sad to see all the stuff destroyed.
The family says despite the damage, nothing was stolen, partly because the truck hit a gas connection. The driver of the truck gets out the passenger side door and the would-be thieves run away. Police say the suspects took off in a light-colored vehicle. Police say they evacuated the plaza until the gas could be turned off. They are asking anyone with information or video to come forward. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. A Toronto man has been identified as the victim of a deadly accident in Philadelphia over the weekend.
18-year-old Tyler Sabapathy fell to his death while celebrating with Philadelphia Eagles fans on Sunday. CTV's Janice Golding has the details.
It was supposed to be a night of celebration. Philadelphia Eagles fans taking to the streets to mark their team's NFC Championship game victory. But the festivities ended in tragedy after a Toronto teen and acclaimed gymnast fell to his death from the top of a street pole. You're looking at video of Tyler Sabapathy competing for Temple University's men's gymnastics club last semester. The 18-year-old was in Philadelphia on athletic scholarship and was studying exercise and sports science. His coach released this statement. The TUMG program and I are heartbroken over the passing of Tyler Sabapathy. Not only was he an exceptional athlete, but an outstanding person loved by everyone who knew him. Sabapathy graduated from Toronto St. Michael's College School with the class of 2024. The school also issuing its own statement. Tyler was an exceptional student athlete, a talented gymnast, and a friend to many within the SMCS community. His joy for life, spirit, and outstanding pursuit of excellence inspired us all.
Hi, my name is Tyler Sabapathy. I'm 16 years old and I'm in grade 11.
During his athletic career, Sabapathy won more than 120 medals in provincial, regional, and international competitions. He began his training at East York Gymnastics at just 20 months old, the club calling his loss a devastating shock. Tyler was a true leader in the gym, a role model for the next generation by providing the perfect dose of support and fortitude. Faithfully attending his practices and with a smile on his face, Tyler trained for 17 years, working his way up the ranks provincially and eventually to the national stream. He collected multiple provincial, national, and international medals along the way. The club, which called itself Sabapathy's second home, also extended its sympathies to Tyler's brother, sister, and parents. Janice Golding, CTV News.
A suspect wanted in connection with the fatal shooting of 2 men, including Toronto rapper Smoke Dogg, has been arrested in Alberta. RCMP officers arrested a man and woman during a traffic stop in Airdrie, north of Calgary, releasing this image of a gun and the money they seized. The man tried to escape on foot, but he was apprehended by officers. He was also in possession of a gun. Officers then discovered he was wanted on Canada-wide warrants for 2 counts of first-degree murder in connection with a shooting near Queen West and Spadina back on June 30th of 2018. Police have not released the identity of the suspect, as he was under 18 at the time of the shooting. 25-year-old Alicia Chan was also arrested during that traffic stop. She's charged with possession of property obtained by crime over $5,000 and counterfeit money.
In the Middle East, 8 hostages that were being held by Hamas in the Gaza Strip were freed today. Militants shuttled 7 of the 8 captives through a rowdy crowd of thousands, drawing an angry protest from Israel. The hostages released included a female Israeli soldier, a 29-year-old Israeli woman, an 80-year-old Israeli man. Drone footage shows the moment that Aga was released and handed over to the Red Cross in Gaza. The Israeli soldier was later reunited with her parents. The hostages were set free as part of the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. They also included 5 Thai laborers who had been working in southern Israel when they were captured. Buses carrying some of the 110 Palestinian detainees released from Israeli prisons arrived at the West Bank later in the day.
The United States could impose tariffs on all Canadian goods starting on Saturday. The federal government is vowing retaliatory measures, and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh agrees. Today, he said Ottawa should bar American companies from all federal government procurement contracts.
So what we want to do is we want to build Canadian and buy Canadian. What we need to do is change our procurement rules, the way we buy things at the federal level. We need to make sure that we're favoring Canadian companies that produce the things that we need in our own country. We need to change the rules so that it favors also companies that have unionized workers that pay their workers a good wage.
Canada is facing 25% tariffs across the board. Yesterday, U.S. Commerce Secretary nominee Howard Lutnick said Canada could see emergency duties at first, with possibly more to come later. Canadian Public Safety Minister David McGuinty is in Washington today to argue the tariffs would be bad for both countries.
February is Black History Month, and Toronto Police held their 31st annual kickoff event this morning.
There is a lot of uncertainty in the world right now, and it is essential that we continue to be there for one another. In fact, I'd say it's more important today than ever that we come together. As the good Reverend Doctor said, there is strength in our unity, and working together to make sure that we do all we can to improve the lives that we are living is absolutely essential and more important today than ever before.
This year, police say their theme for Black History Month is Women of Excellence, and the service honored Staff Superintendent Kelly Skinner with the Terry James Trailblazer Award.
As we celebrate Black History Month, we honor the trailblazers who have come before us and recognize the importance of diversity, inclusion, and equity in our ranks. Our history is rich with stories of those who have fought for justice and equality. And it is our duty to continue this legacy and the work that we are doing to increase trust and improve our relationship with the Black community.
Staff Superintendent Skinner said those efforts are ongoing, but there's a lot of work to be done.
Well, tomorrow is the last day of January, and it's been a pretty typical month here in southern Ontario. A bit of a recap for you. Our average temperature around -2 degrees. That's our seasonal average. I think many of us will remember this month for the cold snaps we had and a little bit of snow as well. A reminder, this Sunday is Groundhog Day. All eyes will be on Wiarton to see what Willie has to say. We'll talk about this and the rest of your weekend forecast coming up.
I'm Jessica Smith, and we are live at the Aga Khan Museum as they celebrate a special anniversary, 10 years, with a beautiful exhibition. Coming up, we'll have more on what you can expect when you come down to the museum, and we'll speak to 2 of the co-curators of the exhibition. All those details coming up after the break. I'm Jessica Smith, and we are live here at the Aga Khan Museum. And it's a really big deal. You guys have something really special going on. I'm joined by two really wonderful people. I have Marianne and Bita. You guys are celebrating the 10-year anniversary here at the museum with a really, really cool exhibition. Marianne, I want to start with you. Talk to me about where we're standing right now, because I can see things depicted on the wall, and it's all about light and how we play with light.
That's correct. We're in an exhibition at the Aga Khan Museum called Light Visionary Perspectives, and we're in one of the artworks in particular. There are many artworks like this, so come and see them. They're experiences. And this particular artwork is by an artist called Anila Aga Khan. She is a Pakistani-American artist, and it's the first time that her work is being shown in Canada, even though she's shown across the world. And this particular work here looks at light and shadows, things that we often think about as opposites, but of course the one is entirely dependent on the other.
And it is so unique, Bita, that we have so many different are involved in this exhibition. We have international artists, but we also have Canadian artists. Why was it important to you guys to feature some of the great Canadian artists that we have here in the country?
Great question. So when we were thinking about this exhibition, we invited 11 artists from different backgrounds. We have, as you mentioned, we have international artists like Anish Kapoor, but we also have great Canadian artists like we have Tanis Nielsen, Sanaz Mazinani, and other artists. But also we also have very emerging artists that we wanted to invite to be part of this exhibition, because we love also to support artists that are building up their careers.
I want to take a walk outside because you guys have to see the rest of some of this exhibition. I have a thing with the moon. I don't know what it is about the moon, but I really do enjoy it. We have so many different types of parts of this exhibition. As we kind of celebrate this 10-year anniversary, talk to me about what it means to have, you know, people come through. Maybe I've driven by this building so many times. This is my first time inside, but what does it mean to you guys to have people coming through and experiencing not only your anniversary here, but this beautiful exhibition?
Well, this museum is actually for everyone, and the building was built around the theme of light, and light really as something that's intercultural, light that connects us together. It talks about understanding and language and the transmission of knowledge and spirituality, and all of that is captured in this exhibition as we celebrate our anniversary. And this work behind us really talks about that. The moon has been something that has connected us across cultures, across ages, and we've all looked to it for scientific discoveries, for poetry, and even for our daily lives in terms of times and seasons. So that is really, in many ways, captures so much of what the exhibition's about.
Rita, we only have a few seconds left, but why should people come down and check out the Aga Khan Museum?
Oh, we have a wonderful collection of historic objects that we are having. That is also part of it is tied to the light exhibition now. We always work with the artists for like exhibitions like this, and also we have great programming for lectures, performance art. So there are like a wide array of works that we do at the museum. So there's something for everybody, and we would love for everyone to come and visit us.
Well, I'm going to have some fun in checking out all the stuff that we have here. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to send things back inside to the studio, but we're here at the Aga Khan Museum checking out light, visionary perspectives. I'll send things back inside.
Appreciate it.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Jess. Thank you. Well, we can use a little more sunshine today, and certainly a cold start, but it's nice to hear that we're steadily warming up this afternoon.
And the days are getting a little bit longer, so a little more light that way.
They are. I've noticed that in the 5 o'clock hour for sure. On a day like this, when we don't have a lot of sun, you might not notice it so much, but there is sun returning for the weekend. Bit of a trade-off. Our sunniest day this weekend is also going to be our coldest. It'll be the first day of February. We have to get through potentially one more round of active weather for January tomorrow 1st. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. Now, there was a little bit of sun early this morning. We enjoyed a sunrise as the CTV News chopper was flying above our city. Here's the thing. Cloud cover has increased. Some areas are seeing a little bit of snow. The positive, the most for today, I think, is the fact that temperatures are on the rise. And if you look at this map here, you can actually see the warmer air making its way closer and closer to us here in southern Ontario. It's already 2 degrees in Windsor. We are at -3 in Toronto, still -15 in Ottawa. So a little ways to go there. Today's high, 0. And then the temperature is going to hold there through the overnight hours. Going to feel a little bit cooler than that once you take the winds into account, but they are coming out of the southwest today. That's a change. We were dealing with a northwest wind yesterday afternoon, and through the nighttime hours, it was quite chilly. Tomorrow's highs are expected to be above freezing in many areas, about 3 degrees in St. Thomas, 2 in Burlington, 1 in Aurora, and 0 in the Uxbridge area. Only thing is this battle battle of cold versus warmer air is going to make things a little bit interesting as we track potentially our next round of active weather. So here's today's very weak Clipper system bringing some areas some flurries. It's this one that we're paying attention to stateside. It's a Texas low. Our jet stream is allowing this one to inch ever closer to us here in southern Ontario. And yes, this is rain. Some areas are going to get measurable rain through the day tomorrow, especially along the Lake Erie shoreline over toward Niagara. Let me show you how the track of this low is looking right now. We're going to pause it here for about 8 a.m. So once again, that 401 corridor toward Hamilton and then in through Niagara Falls, likely to see a little bit of wet weather early tomorrow morning. As the day progresses, some freezing rain or mixed precipitation going to be possible. Notice how we're right on the edge of this here in Toronto. So some light snow possible by the afternoon, certainly around Burlington, Oakville, Mississauga. It's possible this will also be a complete miss if the low does track a little bit further to the south. So just a heads up on that. This is your weekend forecast, though. We're going to plan on some mixed precipitation for tomorrow. It will be drier for downtown Toronto and the East GTA, or so it looks at this point. And then Saturday, there's our sunshine. So we go from a high of about 2 on Friday to a cold overnight low of -12. Chilly start to February, maybe some mixing into Sunday for Groundhog Day. And then it looks like we'll be mild for the first day of next week. That's the forecast for now. Michelle, I'll send it over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Well, Netflix is looking to convince subscribers to stick around for another round of price hikes as it shares a preview of its 2025 plans. The streaming service shared its slate of releases for the year, hinting at highly awaited titles like the final seasons of Stranger Things and Squid Game. The trailer also hinted at the return of Wednesday and the next film in that Knives Out franchise. This comes as Netflix recently hiked the price of its standard ad-free plan to $18.99 a month.
A beloved 90s film is on the verge of getting a potential sequel.
All we really need is maybe some better jobs and boyfriends, right?
Yeah. A sequel to 1997's Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion is reportedly on the verge of getting a green light, according to Deadline. Mira Sorvino and Lisa Kudrow are in final talks to reprise their roles. They're also expected to executive produce the film, which could start production as soon as June in Los Angeles. And we'll have more news after the break.
There are heightened concerns about food poisoning while on vacation after the deaths of a Canadian woman and her son.
Here's more on how travelers can ensure food safety abroad. When David Gustin and his wife Joanne flew to the Dominican Republic on December 30th, it wasn't their first time vacationing there, but it was their first time suffering from severe food poisoning.
Just pains in my stomach, and then I started feeling really nauseous.
I was violently ill, vomiting, and it came upon from nowhere.
They ate at the resort's Mongolian restaurant and were among 8 people in their group who fell ill.
Joanne and I were both there for 24 hours.
I think it's probably one of the more common risks somebody might have when going overseas.
But in rare situations, it can turn serious and even deadly. A year ago, a Toronto woman and her 8-year-old son died from complications after food poisoning, also in the Dominican Republic. Her family is now filing a $10 million lawsuit.
We always worry about something called sepsis, especially if you develop food poisoning from a bacteria that's more serious, like an E. coli or a salmonella, which can then become bloodborne.
Joanne says she was concerned about the lack of serving utensils at the resort's buffets, leading to people using their own forks or hands to serve themselves.
Be very cautious of where you go. In the tropics, make sure you're not drinking the water and
not brushing your teeth with the tap water, using bottled water.
Speaking to a travel healthcare provider before you go is always a good idea, especially if the place you're going to is unfamiliar or you know that there are endemic illnesses like hepatitis or Zika or yellow fever.
Dr. Marco Eric says bring along common medications you might need, like anti-nauseants, and always make sure you get travel health insurance.
And here at home, Health Canada has declared a salmonella outbreak linked to imported pastries, with at least 69 cases reported across the country so far. Public health officials say there are now 69 cases linked to Sweet Cream brand mini pastries and DFT brand Lemon Delight and Tartlet with forest fruits. The people who have gotten sick range in age from 3 years old to 88 years old. In total, 22 people have been hospitalized, but there are no deaths reported. 24 of the cases are here in Ontario. The pastries were distributed in many locations, including grocery stores, restaurants, hospitals, and retirement homes.
When a convicted criminal was put behind bars for multiple romance scams that started on online dating apps, his victims thought it was over.
But as W5's John Woodward reports, the scams did not stop.
These are pictures of the horse ranch that his parents owned.
Pictures that Ange Medill received from John Mulder that convinced her he was a hardworking horse trainer.
He came across as a really great guy, very sociable, very loving.
Then she let him sell her motorcycle. She never saw the money. This vanity plate is all that's left.
Did his parents actually own this farm?
No.
So all of these pictures are a lie?
The entire thing.
Medill eventually discovered she was one of over 100 women who said they dated Mulder, a man who pleaded guilty in January to defrauding 13 women of at least $160,000 and 2 vehicles. The court heard he used a scheme that began with a profile on dating websites and ended with him walking away with their money. His sentence, 8 years.
It was definitely a sigh of relief to know that he was behind bars. It was short-lived for sure.
While Mulder was behind bars in November, this profile appeared on the dating website Plenty of Fish. It said, "I have used a few dating sites over the years for the wrong reasons. I am currently serving an 8-year sentence for several accounts of fraud. I'm at the point of my life where I am wanting to find someone I can be myself with."
What's it like to hear those words?
It was like deja vu, man.
Plenty of Fish told W5, "We've reviewed and banned the profile." Mulder denied it was his work, and Ontario's Solicitor General Ministry, which runs Central East Correctional Centre, simply said inmates do not have internet access while in custody. Officially, that's true in most prisons across the country, with some exceptions. But it turns out that many prisoners do actually get access to the internet through smuggled cell phones.
You was in rehab bench pressing.
Prisoners like rapper Hassan Ali, who thanked Ontario correctional officers for smuggling him a phone, letting him shoot this music video.
Shout out to the COs that took care of me, gave me the phones.
Another Ontario prisoner requested anonymity to tell us what he sees.
They're very common. They're on every unit. It's between $3,000 to $5,000.
Prison systems in the provinces and territories told W5 they have seized a handful of cell phones each over the past few years, a problem that may be a lot bigger in the federal system. Correctional Service Canada told CTV News in 2023 there were 2,284 seizures involving phones. That rose to 2,784 in 2024.
They can be brought in with drones, they can be brought in body cavities.
Ivan Zinger is Canada's correctional investigator.
There's a lot of drug trade. It's flourishing in our penitentiaries, and cell phones are primarily used for that purpose.
Though he says they can also be used to access anything on the internet. The Correctional Service of Canada says it's developed a multi-pronged approach to mitigate the risks of contraband, including phones, pointing to searches and detector dogs. The smuggled phone involving rapper Top 5 prompted an investigation. Not so for Mulder.
Just knowing he was online, and that became like a trigger for my safety, you know, because where does it stop? Does it stop at Plenty of Fish?
Maddill believes that Mulder's post on Plenty of Fish should trigger an investigation too.
And tomorrow, W5's John Woodward will look at what solutions are being proposed to stop the flow of black market phones into prisons.
And still to come, gold hit a record high today. We'll have a look at your business headlines when we come back.
Gold hit a record high today, lighting a fire under Toronto-listed precious metals stocks.
Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg brings us the latest in business.
Hello there. Here are your business headlines. Spot gold, i.e. bullion for immediate delivery, hit a fresh record high, north of $2,796 US announced this morning. Now, that was partly the automatic result of a weaker US dollar after American data showed softer than expected economic growth at the end of last year. But there are also reports of gold hoarding as a hedge against possible trade wars launched by US President Donald Trump. Toronto-listed gold producers Agnico Eagle and Alamos Gold hit new record highs. Shares in CP Kansas City rose 3%. The railroad said it expects shipments in North America to grow this year, despite the threat of tariffs from the Trump administration. Chief Executive Keith Creel predicted that, quote, a pragmatic approach will carry the day. Finally, sales of weight loss drugs such as Zepbound and Wegovy may be linked to New Year's Get Healthy resolutions, just like gym memberships. The Wall Street Journal says one analyst thinks he knows why Eli Lilly missed 2 quarters of Wall Street projections. Umar Rafat of Evercore ISI says the drugs have stellar growth in initial signups in the first half of the year, followed by slower gains in the second half. Eli Lilly's third and fourth quarter sales of the products disappointed investors. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg.
Shares in Meta are trading up slightly after a topsy-turvy morning on the market for the tech giant. This follows an announcement from the Facebook parent company that its fourth quarter earnings came in much better than estimated, even as revenue forecasts sink a bit. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg this week confirmed an ongoing commitment to investing in artificial intelligence as Wall Street looks to that sector for future growth.
At least one top economist is predicting a surge in activity in Canada's housing market after this week's interest rate cut. The Bank of Canada yesterday lowered its key policy rate by 1/4 percentage point to 3%. TD chief economist Beata Carenci tells BNN Bloomberg that real estate is one of the most responsive areas to changes in borrowing costs, and the lower rate could be what allows many homeowners to enter the market. Other experts warn previous rate cuts haven't led to as much growth in real estate activity as expected. They also warn that concern over the impact of potential U.S. tariffs could keep more buyers on the sidelines. E-transfers are used by Canadians about 1 million times a day, and most money is sent and received without any problems.
But if you are the one doing the sending, be sure to confirm the recipient's email address is correct, or the money could simply go missing. CTV's Pat Foran has this consumer alert.
We trusted the sender and we made a typo. Typos happen.
Mike Underwood and Jessica Robertson say last year they decided to make a change in their lives. They sold their home in Beaverton and bought a condo in the Dominican Republic. They want to spend family time there as well as rent it out as an investment. They were expecting their first rent payment when something went wrong.
It's an Interact e-transfer situation that has left $4,000 of our money missing for now 2 months.
Someone agreed to rent their condo for an extended time and pay just over $4,000 by e-transfer. But when Jessica gave them Mike's email, she accidentally left out 2 numbers. The money went to another Mike Underwood and was automatically deposited in his account.
I panicked and I messaged him right away, like, this is the wrong email. I'm very sorry. I made a mistake. Can we send this back? Is there something you can do right away?
Luckily for them, the Mike Underwood who received the funds saw it was a mistake and contacted his bank to say he shouldn't have received it. The money went to a TD account when it should have gone to an RBC account. Despite both Mike Underwoods agreeing it was an error, a fraud investigation has been ongoing for over 2 months with the funds stuck in limbo.
I don't understand what type of system doesn't have a safety net for human error as simple as a typo.
When CTV News reached out to Interact, a spokesperson said, once a deposit has been made, the transaction cannot be reversed. It's important to ensure the person you're sending funds to or receiving funds from is trusted.
They just kind of throw their hands up and say, you need to contact the recipient and get it yourself.
Following an investigation, TD worked with RBC to get the funds to the intended Mike Underwood. The couple recently received the amount of just over $4,000 in their bank account which was a huge relief.
We really do appreciate CTV, Pat, everybody at Consumer Alert. Thank you for helping us get our money back.
Yes, thank you.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Coming up, the Raptors took on the Washington Wizards last night. We'll have a recap of the action after this short break. The Raptors were looking for a fifth straight win when they took on the Washington Wizards last night.
Above 500 no matter what happens on Friday night. Here's Shed with the three, and that three is good.
The Raps jumped out to an early lead and never looked back. They ended up winning the game 106-82. The 5-game winning streak is the team's longest of the season. The Raptors will be back on the court tomorrow to play the Chicago Bulls.
Saw that pregame interview with Kofi Arms.
Meanwhile, the Maple Leafs were looking to snap a 2-game losing streak when they faced off with the Minnesota Wild. The team got on the board in the third period, but ended up losing the game 3-1, extending their losing streak to 3 games. The Leafs will be back on the ice on Saturday to play the Edmonton Oilers.
Well, are we winning or losing in the weather forecast today? I guess it depends what you like. If you want a little bit warmer, we're winning.
We are winning, and through the overnight hours tonight, our temperature will remain mild too. Here's our forecast lows, holding steady at about 0 in the city of Toronto. Here's the interesting thing, though. As we wake up tomorrow morning, depending on which part of the GTA you're joining us from, it might look like this, just some variable cloudiness, or you could be dealing with some rain or maybe even some mixed precipitation. This is why we're tracking this area of low pressure, which might remain south of the border. It might creep a little further north. In any case, plan on maybe some mixed precip for tomorrow. And then Saturday is going to be sunny but cold, mixing possible again on Sunday. Pauline and Michelle.
Looks good. Thanks so much, Lindsay. And that's CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Pauline Chan. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6.